figured I'd keep the dance party going a little longer.
I wasn't dancing. I was watching some dancing. Yeah.
Oh. This is going to be exciting. Oh my goodness. Welcome.
Nadine!
Nadine, Amar.
Wow, look.
It's a play date, baby. Get in here. We're happy to see you. Hey, gang. Hello. Shouting. Oh my.
Oh, it's Trevor. Hey, Trevor. What's up, man?
Excuse me, Lemon. You were a little late. I can't stay mad at you.
He said he got me here right when he intended to. I don't know what that means.
Well, he and I have
Don't pet the head. Gosh, you want anyway.
We have a different definition of timeliness. Mr. Lemon. Welcome, friends and fam, LinkedIn gang, those of us who are coming together for the first time to enjoy Nathan Hills and my very first ever decidedly grown up. Let me just remind everyone, this is serious. This is very serious. Playdate. Woohoo! We made it to this moment, and it's been months in the making. Nathan, say hello. Tell everyone what we're doing here.
I just want to, inaugurate this very serious moment with some steeple fingers and a thank you to everybody who's showing up. Laura and I have been talking about this for like a long. Laura, when did we first start talking about collaborating on a live? It was like a year ago, right? Was it not like last January or February?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It was a long time ago.
He's like, I had to be. Ooh. That feels like a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking of resolutions.
Listen, I have this list that I don't remember if I told you about this, Laura, but I have this list in Notion. Nadine will be proud of me. It's a Notion document of like my 2023 goals that I made in like, I guess a year ago, December or in January last year or whatever. And I went back to look at them and it was like hieroglyphics. I was like, what are these words? Are these things that I had as goals? Like I had forgotten like 80% of them.
I would be scared to go back to that list myself. That's like we call that like the Boulevard of Broken Dreams. That's like, we're not going back there. But no, I mean, first of all, this is an afternoon snack production. This is from Afternoon Snack Studios. That's where we come to hang out and snack. Today we're in the playroom. Today we're with Nathan Hill. He is a coach in training and also just a man of many layers, a sophisticated man, a man of the people, yet also an intellectual man. If you know him, you know what I mean. Nathan Hill, please introduce yourself formally to this play date.
So I am, as alleged, Nathan Hill. I am currently a man of two layers, one gray, one blue. I think everybody I'm seeing there, most of you all know me. I did my studies in religion. I have spent years and years in the hospitality industry. I've also done construction, all kinds of crazy stuff. I've been on LinkedIn actively for almost 2 years now. And recently, over the past year or so, I've been coming back to coaching as kind of the thing that I want to do fits the way I want to be active in the world and the way I want to help people. So I'm doing certification on that right now. I'm in the process of gearing up to take clients and all that stuff. Hey, Tracy. I'm just seeing names as they pop in here. It's great to be doing this again more. We did the afternoon snack. What was that, a month or two ago that we did that? And that was a lot of fun. That was a cool time.
Well, that was the genesis of this, right? Like we had a lot of chemistry together as like hosts. I think I'm flattering myself. You bring the energy and people
bring the energy.
I'm merely a facilitator. Let me just say that. I create space for brilliance. That's what I've decided my niche is. But no, I think we had so much fun together talking about deep things in a lighthearted way that I feel like that's kind of the genesis of why we wanted to maybe try to do another live, because our conversations meander, but I think they meander sometimes in a way that other people are doing that same meandering themselves. So it's almost like we're doing it together.
Oh, yeah. I definitely have that sense. I mean, Laura, like, I mean, you're a great facilitator. Like, one of the things that made me excited about coming back, and I think most everybody, y'all who are listening in, like, you know this. Like, Laura is very good at interviewing. Laura, you have a great voice. You're very polished. You do a good job of putting this stuff together. And so, you know, I'm happy to be the facilitate kid on this one.
It sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah, maybe I should rethink that. Bad branding. Bad branding. Okay,
But it's like,
you guys fix my words. Fix my words.
no. How cool is it that because we just decided to go ahead and do a live, which I was new at, you were so gracious to join me in doing a live early on for me, which was super humbling because you've been doing the Tilted Bench, which is this totally awesome series that talks about coaches and leadership and helping people in their lives, being helped in your own life. Just so rich in terms of your storytelling that we just said, hey, you're going to take a chance on me. We're going to do the show. Went really well. And then we ended up having an offshoot conversation that was the start of Playdate, which was, but we wanted to bring entertainment to people because they were so stoked about puppets the last time we did this. So we wanted to bring entertainment to people, but we also wanted to talk about stuff that was, I mean, I'll say appropriate to talk about on LinkedIn, but at this point, what does that even mean? I'm not sure. So here we go. So I wanted to have you just unpack that. Oh.
Red Pepper. They're just going to be in and out, guys. You're just going to have to be used to it. They're going to come in. They're going to come
in. Was Red Pepper here this whole time and I didn't even take roll and say, like, who's here?
Yeah, you know, as long as he stays away from the keyboard, we'll be fine. If I disappear, well, you know.
Well, so we got into this conversation about how do we bring entertainment to people, right? Like, how do we bring entertainment to people that's also deep? And you told me this great anecdote about college times and a professor that you had. And that was how we started this. So please take us.
Yeah, so this was really fun. The timing on this, everybody, was great. Like, Laura and I were having this conversation, and I had recently had a conversation with my coach, the person who coaches me, about a dream that I had remembered from back when I was in college. Now, I mentioned earlier, I did my degrees in religion. One of the things that we talked about at one point in my undergraduate career was dreams and what you do with those. And there's this really interesting thing that a professor of mine taught us, which is when you're going back and looking at one of your dreams, if you're trying to kind of mine them for meaning, one thing you can do is think of everybody in the dream as you. Each person in the dream is some version of you. It's some part of you speaking to you. So during that time, I had this dream that I was in like a gymnasium playing dodgeball or something like that, I think, with a whole bunch of little kids. And I was just being like hyper aggressive, like rude. You know, I was like delivering these just crushing blows. I was just like wasting them left and right, you know. And at one point, one of the kids looks up at me and it's like, why are you doing this? Like, we're just trying to play. So I went back to try and unpack this. And the truth that I found for myself at that point in my life was that I was not allowing myself to play enough in my life. And there were parts of me that were desperate to continue to play, but other parts of me were like, no, we're not going to do that. And the funny thing is, that stuff still goes on.
Left and right. I mean, that's the thing is like you were telling yourself, I need the space to be able to express that part of myself. And I think we were shuttered so long, right? Like it feels very relevant right now to want to have space for like a safe space to be with other people and have enjoyment and entertainment in a way that harkens back to and brings up really fond memories of like Sesame Street and childhood. And, you know, some of those things were less processed at that time. You know, things were a little bit more kind of organic, I would say. Now today it's, you know, it's YouTube and things like that. So all that's changed, but we have these little memories, these reminiscences of what it was like to, you know, watch Sesame Street and see our friends. And we said, you know, why adults like to watch Sesame Street too. Why don't we talk about some of these topics that we feel like are super, super relevant? And, you know, for me, this abandoned resolutions topic is a real sticking point because it happens to me every year. And
I mean, that's a good point. Like everybody in the comments, like Stephen, hi, by the way. you've never made a New Year's resolution like everybody else. Do y'all do New Year's resolutions? Have you done them? I mean, I end up on the fence about it, Laura. It's the same thing with like that word of the year thing. Like sometimes I think that's kind of interesting and it sounds fun, but Charity Hughes did a post like right around the first week of January, and she said something about the word of the year, and I said, yeah, if I had to pick one, mine would probably be change, as in I would change my word of the year in a week or two.
Right? Because I think that's the thing is it feels so. I personally always get this little like jolt of adrenaline in the beginning of the year. Like, I'm really going to do it this time. I'm really going to do these things. I'm never going to do that again, and throw my whole weight, my whole back into it. So imagine the crash. I mean, but that's, I mean, let's just be honest. I always aim really, really high. And then when I fall down, I'm like, oh, how could you not do that thing that was going to be really, really hard?
Well, and foreshadowing everybody, like how high you aim is a big part of what can make it unpleasant, right? Like I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm seeing, there's a way in which like resolutions can turn into this almost curse that we put on ourselves because the expectation is so high. Like we don't set realistic goals all the time, and then if we don't meet them, then we beat ourselves up. And when we get later on in the live, you guys, I have some stuff I'm going to read you that addresses that a little bit, but I'm not going to read it to you now because you're supposed to tease things. So there it is.
Yeah, this is the second time that you've teased something for later in the show, and I'm just picking up all these tricks left.
He told me to say that I learned it from Sam. I've teased things before. I did not learn everything from Sam. All right, fine. Yeah, I learned it from Sam. Okay. I said it.
Big shout out to Sam Sierra. I know she was going to try to be here tonight.
I think she is. She told me that she might be driving the carpool and she might be like just listening in. So
yeah.
Sam, if we're on speaker and there are other people in the car with you, I just want them all to know that you're a huge nerd. I mean that you're awesome.
Yeah, you are awesome. You are awesome. Don't listen to him. Yeah. Anyway, so you know what? I was before we go down a let's talk about how amazing Sam is conversation, because we should do a whole separate show about that.
That's a separate live. We've got that one scheduled.
Separate live.
Oh wait, this is tangent, but I mean Sam and I have kind of branded our entire relationship on rabbit holes and how we love to chase them. Sam and I have gotten into these conversations, Laura, about like what we're doing right now. And Sam and I may be doing a follow-up live later on talking about some of this resolution stuff.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there, but just throw that out there. Okay. Anyway.
So many tidbits coming from Coach Nathan tonight. Lots of things to look forward to coming from him. Can't wait to hear what you're working on with Sam. But let's talk a little bit. I really, really want to talk about these segments that we laid out for the show, because we had such a fun, this is our play date, right? Like we were going to come up with activities for our play date. And this play date is based on the whole idea of like adults can get together and do some of the stuff that kids do, but in a way that, helps us free our minds a little bit, but also lean into some deeper kind of philosophical thinking that, feels it's like a spoonful of sugar making the medicine go down. It makes it easier to talk about stuff because we're having a good time. But we talked a little bit about having these segments like, what would go into an adult's Sesame Street show. And one of them was like, okay, well, adults use lots of words that they at what point do we stop saying what we mean? Like adults use grown-ups. And we kind of went into this thing about how your kids, you were saying your kids can be very blunt.
Unfortunately.
So we talked like it was like kind of I felt like it was a funny idea to kind of probe this concept of like actually be direct, say what you mean. Let's not use let's not beat around the bush, be like more like kids, let's be more direct with how we kind of go into the year. So we were going to be unpacking this whole idea of like when you assign a word to the year, this like concept that like, oh, this is the year of what was it going to be? This was the year of the goblet. I was making fun of myself because I had this moment. This is the year of the goblet. And my friend Ann Merrill was like, what goes in I don't get it. I'm like, you're right. But we're going to be drinking from it. That's all I
know. It's funny that that you mentioned resolutions, because one of and jargon, like one of mine resolutions was to not use too much jargon this year. I just feel like when you use terminology that is a little overcomplicated, it can produce, I mean, almost an ontological angst that people struggle with.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea what you said. Let's circle back to that. Let's circle back. Let's put a pin in it. But it's also, you know, I think that terms of words and what they mean and how we use them, it's like there's meaning in the words we choose to use instead. And sometimes that can be really punishing if we talk to ourselves in a punishing or negative way. So I was thinking, like, you know, let's say what we mean. Like, okay, so everyone, you know, I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight in the new year. Like, that's such a mean thing to say to yourself. Like, it can be very harsh to say, you know, that's what I'm going to do. But I feel like if you read to the other meaning of that, it's more like, or think about what you're really saying with it. It's like, I want to lose weight because my wife and kids want to go running with me or play tennis with me, or because, you know, I, you know, want to learn to cook in a different way. So the real because is like, that's what the real meaning of it is. That's the reason. Like this year, I want to go running with my wife and kids, not I want to lose weight. Like, oh, I'm bad, like that. And it's like, if that's how we if we can turn that concept, say what we really mean, which is, you know, I want to be healthier to be with my family, then that's sort of less self-critical, I think, maybe a little bit more kind of friendly and warm to ourselves. That's what we really mean after all.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. This is one of the things that, like, to me, it seems like can really go wrong with resolutions. If you have your resolutions picked and lined up, and if they're evaluated based on the wrong why, you know, we like to talk about whys and how important your why is. If you get that part wrong, like, you can end up falling on your face anyway. You know, the weight loss thing is such a big common one. And part of the question is like, okay, well, why do you want to lose weight? Is it because you're worried about your health? Is it because you don't like the way you look? Is it because you feel like it's harder for you to exercise or play sports because of your weight? Or is it because somebody else told you that you need to lose weight and you believed them? What's the reason there? And, you know, is that even a valid reason? Because if it's something like that latter thing, then forget that. Like, you don't need other people to tell you whether that's society or anybody else. Like, you don't need somebody else to tell you who you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be that person. If your resolutions are shaped entirely around external stuff, you're going to end up upset at the end of the day anyway.
Well, and I think it's like, so I learned this trick when I was, when I worked for an agency some years back, that when we were working with clients trying to understand their problems, right? Like that's what you do when you're a consultant, you try to understand your clients' problems, so that figure out a way to solve them. And there would always be this problem, like, you know, we're not getting enough engagement on, you know, a certain part of one of our programs. And if you start to ask them why, then you can get a layer deeper into their understanding of why the problem exists. So it's like, well, why do you think that's happening? And then they'll say, and then we always were, the theory was, if you can do it 3 times, you'll get to the bottom of it. So you'll say, like, why is that? Like, so they're saying, oh, this program isn't performing. Like, why do you feel that? Why is that, do you think? And then, you know, well, because the creative sucks. Excuse my language. Creative sucks. Okay. Like, so tell me more about like why, like, you know, why that is. And then you'll get to the problem of, you know, we hate our team. It's not really that the creative sucks. It's just that the team isn't on the same, you know, you can start to cobble together what's the missing pieces to get to the real root of a problem if you ask and it's not to be like pedantic. It's to be like getting to the root of the heart of it. Like what you really mean is that the team isn't working together. Hi, Jill. Welcome. Hey, Jill.
But I mean, that whole thing about the chasing the whys reminds me, like Stephen just said in the comments, that, you know, being in the kids section, you get to see kids saying all kinds of stuff to their parents. Like, I've been those parents, Stephen, so like I can imagine some of the stuff you've heard. Yeah. Like, kids at a certain age are all about the why. And it's this just like non-ending search for them trying to figure out what you really mean. because we say stuff, but they don't know what it means that we've necessarily said stuff, and
Yeah.
and we don't always think about it too. Like, I mean, even something as, I mean, this is me thinking about like being in the van with my kids and hearing why 20 times from the back seat, right? Okay, we can't go to the library today, right? Oh, well, why? Well, because whatever the next thing is. Well, why? And then we keep going and keep going. And it's like each step is, okay, you've said that, but is that actually a reason? Is part of it. And then why does that reason hold up? But we're on, streaming to LinkedIn. We're on in the social media realm. Like, social media is a place where we say stuff all the time. There are little cliches, little things that we're just the jargon that we're just repeating constantly, but we don't always stop to be like, well, what do we mean when we say that? So on the one hand, you can make things too complicated. On the other hand, you can grab cliches that may distract from what the real meaning is.
Yeah, exactly. That's the jargon piece, right? Like, what is the actual, and I think that it works so well in that kind of that professional services situation, because as if you're coming in from the outside, you're trying to understand what the issues are from the inside, and whether the you'll make your own evaluation about how things are working, but a lot of it is how people feel about how they're working. So, and their way of moving through the scenarios that they have to deal with. So I think it's so useful to kind of say, like, the why doesn't mean I'm questioning whether you're telling me the truth. It's or I'm blaming you somehow. It's I want to know why you think, because that will help me understand what's really going on.
Right. I mean, like, some of my favorite conversations that happen on LinkedIn in the comments are, and I just had one yesterday, are
Yeah.
questions where like somebody throws something out and I ask some questions about it, or kind of put a why out there. Like, why does this hold up? Why is this something we should think about? Why isn't it this instead? In the best moments, like, that leads us to get a lot deeper, and we find out what the other person means and they find out what we mean. And that's good communication. I mean, that's the stuff that leads to better understanding, which leads to better relationships.
Yeah.
It's just really worth it to go down those holes if you've got the time and if you've got people who are willing to do it with you.
Yeah. Oh, big time for sure. Yeah. And I think too, like, it goes back to how we are, like, how we're viewing it's all through the lens of our own experience. So the way that we kind of phrase these things, the way we position them back to ourselves, is just as kind of worth thinking through. But in the spirit of abandoned resolutions, we did promise that we were going to mimic imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, mimic our friends at Sesame Street, and have a word or letter of the day for our play dates. And our little plan today, our word of the day. Oh my goodness. What's our word of the day? Abandoned resolutions. Yay!
Yay!
Grown-ups have a lot of them. Yay. Okay, who's going to start? Lemon, what's your abandoned resolution?
I wasn't going to brush my hair anymore, and I'm doing pretty good at it.
We can tell.
I told him no hair jokes. Like, he knows it's a thing. Right? Like,
Knows it's a thing, no hair jokes. Oh, that's mean. How about you? Red Pepper? What's your abandoned resolution?
To make more resolutions.
That's a good one.
Did you make any? No.
You're so crazy. You crazy lemon. You crazy lemon pepper. That's
Well, I had a pretty good one that I'm pretty proud of. I resolved to not drink any more SSBs anymore.
What's that you're holding?
Sugar sweetened beverages.
What's that you're holding there?
It's two.
Two?
Yeah, because it was the jargon thing earlier. I'm not good at this.
Show us both cans. We know there's two over there.
Well, at least you're paying attention. This is Pellegrino. I feel, didn't you guys ever drink Pellegrino? So I worked at this Italian like trattoria and wine bar when I was in graduate school, and we served Pellegrino, and like we brought it out in like the chilled stone like things that they sat in, and I felt like it was just the fanciest stuff ever. So now like I still drink it sometimes, and I'm like, got my Pellegrino.
Oh yeah. Well,
that came from Walmart.
I was gonna say, sir, you cannot beat my signature seltzer Safeway. You can't beat me when you beat me on this. Hey, I brought a new toy to our play date to show you. Would you like to meet my new toy?
Is this the surprise? You guys, she told me she had a surprise.
I have a
but I don't know what it is.
I brought you a surprise. I brought you a little present for the show, and I just want to introduce to you. It's going to be an unboxing ceremony because this is the first time that we've ever talked. But I was taken in by an Instagram ad. They work really well. It's Existential Crisis Bob. Let's see what he looks like. This is Existential Crisis Bob. I was served. I know. It's a little crazy, but I was served this ad, right? This was an Instagram ad that I got.
Slow roll Instagram. Hold on. Just,
I feel a little seen. Okay, so here we go. Well, I was taken with him because he sits in the corner with a little hoodie on and just tries to snuggle himself and just get through the day. And the world is burning all around him. He's just he has magnetic hands.
Is he squishy?
He's really, really soft and fluffy. He's got this terry cloth hood on. Hold on. I don't know why I can't make his magnets stick together. Probably because this was a silly impulse purchase.
Well, Tracy wants one now, so you owe her.
Oh my gosh, look at it. Look at him. Hold on, let's see. We've got these great legs, but they're meant to be curled up in a tight existential ball. Hello. Hello, friends of the show. I'm Existential Crisis Bob. I have a soft, plushy hoodie. It's very soft. And yes, he has magnetic hands so that he can hug himself in the corner if I can get them to work. I believe he's supposed to be able to hold on to himself. There we go. Look.
Oh, look at him.
Oh, he's so existential.
Now I wonder why he has a yellow hood.
I know, he's so cute. See, he just sits like on his little, he's so sad. He just sits like on his little, don't look at my nails. Nadine's going to yell at me because he saw my nails. This is, yeah. There he is.
He is pretty cute. Yeah, I like him. He's got a very,
This is the end.
quiet demeanor. This is the end.
This is the end. Help! 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 That's my toy. What's your toy?
Well, it's funny. Listen, I got two things that I have to do with this toy segment. There's one thing I had mentioned to Laura that I was thinking about being serious about this because, I'm starting this business. I'm working on, getting into my coaching practice. And that means that I am in the midst of shiny object syndrome. You guys know what I mean by that? It's this thing where, right, you're starting a business or you're just creating content on LinkedIn, my goodness. And you're like, oh, here's a new app that I can use that will do X, Y, Z. Let me get a subscription to that. Oh, here's a live streaming software that I can pay for a subscription to.
Yeah.
I may or may not have caused Laura to subscribe to Restream, you guys. But so anyway, so I'm in the midst of all this and I was thinking about talking about those toys. And I will, if any of you have feelings about this, please in the comments, let me know. Like seriously, you helping me. I am right now in an existential crisis about how I feel about Google Meet and Zoom. Like part of me really wants to pay for a subscription to Zoom. And part of me wants to just stick with like Meet for free. And I just don't know what to do. So whatever. Right now I'm just using Meet. Anyway, if you have any strong feelings, please do tell us.
You're very selfish. This is not part of the show. You're not supposed to ask people to do stuff.
I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna sneak it in there.
Me too. Whatever.
Did you guys know that they have in Minecraft version of Uno. That's right. That's right.
Oh
This
my God,
my
hold it higher. Let's see. Let's see.
yeah, Minecraft. Let me see if I can. This is maybe a little bright for this. Anyway, my girls. For those of you who don't know, I have a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and 8-year-old, and they're into Minecraft, which is cool because I like Minecraft too. But they got this Uno game for Christmas. And hey, Sam, there she is.
There she is.
But so they've learned how to play Uno with playing this, and it's got the +4s and the +2s, like all that stuff. So we've been playing this, and like it's this fun new toy in the house, and we weren't playing this yesterday, but we were playing like actual Minecraft on the computer. Yeah. But a couple of them were kind of tired of it because we've been playing it for a while, and they wanted to play this other game that they learned in school. Do you guys remember the game? You remember the snake game where like there were all these people with little snakes and like you ate whatever and you would get longer and then you had to like cut other people off and they would blow up. Well, the girls have this game and it's called like Power Lines, and it's that except the snakes are like electric. So if you run next to somebody else's snake, you get a boost and you can go past them and cut them off. Yeah. So yesterday, instead of Minecraft, they wanted to play this. And I was kind of bummed out because I was like, yeah, but Minecraft, we can all play it together. Like that, we can't play it together. And then I had to kind of check myself because it's back to that why, right? Like, are we here to like play this very specific, very rigid way, which as adults, we get that way, right? We're like, this is the game. These are the rules. The Minecraft box has the Uno rule set. You have to follow every single rule. Well, kids aren't always as worried about that. Like they're more like, oh, let's, the wind is blowing this way, so let's go play over there. And that can actually be a pretty good way to go about things. So I ended up having to kind of give in and be like, you know what, we're playing. Let me follow my children's lead because they are likely better at it than I am right now.
Yeah, and you know what? We just played because we never even finished our abandoned resolutions section. Like we never even said what ours were. We followed the wind instead. We just followed the wind.
I abandoned that section.
Do you have one though? Because like I was actually thinking like, do I have one? I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think so. Always.
Oh, what's yours?
Well, mine. Okay, so mine was gonna be like that. I was really, really, really going to start like lifting more heavier weights. And I am trying my best to stay with it, but and I know you have to change your nutrition and everything like that. You really need to be kind of smart about it if you're going to start doing that. And I haven't been like that. So I'm so tired. Like I have to hand it to these people. Like all my friends out there, I know Nadine does this, like lifting heavy weights is really hard. Like I find myself so it was a resolution to start doing that because I see all my girlfriends like out there doing this and they're so, first of all, like just super strong, which is just great for life in general, but also they say that it's very like mentally satisfying too. So I was gonna, that's what I've been kind of trying to infuse more, but anybody else have that experience? If you have had this experience with weightlifting, we need to talk and you need to tell me what you're eating so that I can get on that train right away because I'm finding it very enjoyable. It's just putting me down and like it's making me so tired. Anyway, that was mine.
Oh yeah, I don't usually do the resolutions game, and I didn't this year either. Okay. But I will, do things kind of throughout the year depending on how things go. And like back in November, I started trying to walk, and then eventually worked my way into running, and so I run a little bit now. Yes. And it's funny as you were talking about like how you feel about the weightlifting and thinking about other people and all this stuff. Like with a lot of resolutions, maybe not all of them, but definitely a lot of them, like comparison is such a big thing. Like when I think about my commitment to do anything active, like anything fitness related for whatever reason, even though I know that I'm a man in my middle age and I need to be active because it's important so that I stay healthy, so that I live longer. Like I still am thinking about that stuff and thinking about it in terms of like, well, am I doing as much as like that person is? Like my sister's a runner. She has been for a long time. She like runs long distances very well. And I'm always like, will I ever be able to run that well? Like maybe I should just give up. Ha ha ha. But then, I like have been pushing myself a little bit, and about a week and a half ago, my knees started hurting. So now I'm in that whole point where it's like, well, what's my why? Like, what's my goal? If I want to be healthy, I should probably take it easy on myself and like take a break. But if I'm like chaining myself to this goal to run 3 times a week, minimum of 7 miles or whatever, well, then I'm just going to push through the pain. But that's a dangerous place to be,
Lots of words that I want to talk about that just came out of yo mouth. One was chain myself. Chain, like that is, and that really is. I am not a natural runner, and I believe that it has many, many. Oh my gosh, Lemon, this is Bob. He's having a really bad day. He's just, oh, yeah.
Is it Shane? I feel like we need to wrap these knees up.
And we'll just hug each other.
It'll be okay.
We'll just do hugs. Yeah. No, it's chaining yourself. I mean, because running, I'm not a natural runner. So like, I literally sometimes feel there's cement in my shoes when I'm running. I'm like, God, this is horrible. It's never going to end. This is a nightmare. Even though the more in shape you get, it's supposed to get easier, blah, blah, blah. Hey, no. It doesn't always get easier. Like it's sometimes still hard. That's why it stinks. But no, I think you said you were chaining yourself to it, but I was like, took me a really long time to figure out, and social media world like doesn't make this easy, which is why I think it's like an actual practice that we probably have to do almost every day at this point is, the comparison thing where you're talking about your sister and she runs really far. Like, and I mean this in the same way that I talk to myself when I see somebody else make achievements like that. And I'm like, why? Because that's why you change yourself to, I'm going to push through the pain and do it 3 times a week because the standard for me is what she's doing. But in reality, like truly. And I'm like trying to tell you what I try to tell myself because I don't believe in people being like, no, you just have to do this. You just have to do this. Like, she like whatever she's doing has like nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that. Of course we know that. That's the thing is we cognitively, we do know that. But when we see that, it's something, it's just human nature. You say, oh, I should be doing that. So I'm going to chain myself to something that I don't even enjoy. Whereas I prefer to run half the workout, walk half the workout, whatever it is, you're doing it in your own way because whatever that person's doing is like literally it's just completely on the other side of the world. Like it doesn't matter. You're just thinking about it that way. Right.
Right.
And being hard on yourself.
And that's one of the things about the resolutions is that like when you said, run part of it, walk part of it, right? Like how concrete do you make your resolutions? Do you leave room for change? Do you leave room for life to be fluid? Because life is fluid. Like things change. You can't always have the ideal all the time. So if you have to flex on those goals, do you say, oh, well, I've abandoned that, I didn't do it exactly the way I said I was going to, that's it. And then you just give up completely. Or do you give yourself a little grace and kind of stick with it as best you can?
Well, because what goes hand in hand with the grace part of it, I think, is like, be humble, like it's like, okay, like you don't, like if you don't expect yourself to be amazing, like at something right away, or be like, I'm always going to be super, super fit, like from the get-go, like then you're not going to end up holding yourself back because you won't hold yourself to a, it's like, to me, I think it's about saying, and I know again, like I hope you hear this in the way that I mean it. It's like, I just sometimes when I'm running and stuff, I'm like, I just pray I don't get injured. Thank God I'm not injured. And I know that, and so my heart goes out to people who, they can't exercise the way they want to because they're injured. And I'm like, you know what? So just if I'm walking today, okay, then the good that's you didn't, or because, and this is something my dad always says to me too. He's like, well, you could have done nothing at all, but you didn't. So if it's that way, then it's not like I'm beating myself up, and reality is, wow, really, it's just such a blessing to be able to, to exercise in the first place, however you want to do it, with a glass of wine in your hand, whatever you want to do. I mean, that works for us. But no, I mean, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, like, you're absolutely right. Like, I mean, that's part of what was going through my head. Like the other day, I went out, I'm running, and then after a little while, I'm like, my knee is still not 100%, and so I walked the rest of it. Like, I just stopped running because, like, what would it be like if I couldn't get out at all? What would it be like if I couldn't even walk? Let me take what I've got that I can do, appreciate that, and just do that. Like, not try and do more than I can do, because again, what's the why? Am I trying to be healthy, or am I trying to show off?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'm trying to show off, but like the real goal is, I'm trying to be healthy. So when you push to the point where you break something, like, that's not healthy.
Yes, exactly. And then you don't get to enjoy the improvement because you didn't take it as far as you could go. Like, if you go too hard, my brother calls it accelerating into the apex. He's like, if you go too hard into the hardest part, then you're never going to enjoy it. You have to, it's really interesting kind of if you can give yourself the patience to like build up strength over time. That's why I'm trying to do this weights thing, because I know, as long as you don't get injured, you can keep lifting heavier. So all these goals, and it really does tie back to something that you and I talked about, including in the show today, which I think is super important to both you and I. And that's this like idea that we're going to do on our play dates. We're going to do some unlearning. We're going to get our heads into like the space of, let's question some of the things that we hold on to, be really like kind of raw and aware of ourselves and, what we do to ourselves basically by being so self-critical, by pushing for something, that is super, 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 super difficult to achieve, which is, all those things are great things, but it is what I think is a pervasive condition often is this toxic perfectionism, right, Bob? Yeah, Bob feels it. The idea of toxic perfectionism and how your resolutions turn into garbage because the battle is, let's be perfect at them, or the pressure that we create to be, perfect in ourselves in that moment by embracing those resolutions, and not just embracing them, but doing them. And it feels like this really important part of life, but then we do it at New Year's and it feels so forced, and we just ate and drank for Christmas or whatever we did. And we're like, how are we going to do this?
Well, yeah, it's the timing of it around New Year's is so tricky, right? Like, we're in the depth of winter when a lot of people aren't. I saw an article talking about this the other day, that we do New Year's resolutions. Well, here we are it's the beginning of a new calendar year, and you can talk about new opportunities and newness and all that. But you can also talk about that throughout the year at different times. I mean, any change of the seasonings, you can have that conversation. But in this article, they were saying you have a time of the year where depression is high, where the weather, the light outside feeds into that. The days are shorter. Yeah. Everybody tends to feel a little tired. It's hard to get outside. Depending on where you live, it could be snowing or raining half the time. And
let's be super hard on ourselves.
Right. So let's pick this like most difficult time of the year, and let's try and start something new right now. I mean, talk about set yourself up for failure,
It's actually kind of bonkers, right? Like, why would you put yourself through something that is unachievable, basically? That's so mean to do to yourself, like expecting too much, because we already do, so many people on this call I know they have kids, they have lives, they have you brought up your daughters. Everyone's so busy. Like, we're doing the best we can. And I think that's one of the promises that we, have to make to ourselves and to each other. And I know, you and I are going to circle back. We're going to circle back to that as our like end of show meditation moment, meditation on a thought moment. But we promised that we were going to let people tell us what they've already abandoned, or if they want like if they're feeling like their resolutions are sliding to the wayside, and we want to give them kind of an antidote to that. What would take the weight off of like everybody's shoulders? Like, if you're literally sitting there thinking and you're going to bed tonight and you're like, oh, another day I didn't do this. Like, is there anything that we can do to unpack that for you here? We would love to do that. And I know just for me personally, every time I go to bed at night, I start running through the to-do list of stuff that I didn't do that day.
It's great.
Flip down the list of things that and honestly, and this is just goes back to what we were talking about. Seriously, like the punishing cycle of the list grows at that point. Like I add things to the list more often than I take them off the list when I'm doing that like end of the night rundown. And it gets worse.
And I wonder,
yeah.
like, so seriously, if there's a resolution that you've dropped, like already here in January, and we've passed that like date that they say is when most of them have been dropped by, like drop that as a comment. But another thing is if you have like a coping strategy, if you have something that helps you like keep your resolutions in check or be okay with, having to let them go sometimes, like what's your strategy? What's the thought that like helps you hang on to that?
Yeah, throw it out. Go ahead.
Yeah, throw it in there. And then, and I was going to say that for me, and the perfectionism really is a big part of it. I have a dry erase board right over there in my office that has like my to-do stuff on it, and I recently had a talk with it, and we cleared it off a little bit. But it was full, so I put up a second dry erase board next to it. It's instead of like reworking the board, I added double the real estate for me to put notes and to-do list stuff up on the board.
You know what though? It's a step toward a solution though, I think.
Okay, what are you thinking there?
I think it's a step toward a solution because you're going to use one of the boards ultimately for like ideas and stuff. And then that'll be like the par baked list, and then you'll have the real list. So you'll have like the to-do list of ideas and like just the creative board. And then because I think you'll want to have them both. That's just my take. That's like a really personal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kind of like that. Yeah. I mean, because when I added up there originally, it was because I was going to be like, all right, this board is going to be my like personal and my household board because like, I'm also a stay-at-home dad, so I'm watching the kids. I have all this. I do laundry. I have all these chores I have to keep up with. But then I'm like, all right, I want a separate board for business stuff. But like as I look at them now, like it's already kind of moving in that direction that you're talking about, where the one board is kind of just becoming like a mind dump almost, whereas the original board is like much more structured. I even have multiple colored like expo markers I'm using. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do people have? I really would like to hear, and everyone's really quiet tonight. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a chill Thursday night. My voice is so soothing. That could be it. Everyone's just getting kind of lulled to sleep. But no, if people do have recommendations for, and don't say Notion, because I really associate Notion with work. Like, I'm not going to put up a Notion board for my personal life, Maybe I should. That might be a good idea. What do you think?
So I did at one point have a Notion board that was like my household to-do list, as well as like short-term and long-term. And it was shortly after I think we had moved here to North Carolina that I set that up. Part of what that list was like, I had toggles that I had set up, and this was like, finance stuff that I have to change. Like, you move to a new state, so you change banks, whatever. And like, just general house setup stuff. And setting up a list like that is almost kind of a resolution of itself in a way, because I'm saying, all right, here's a tool that I'm building, and I'm going to use this tool to be organized. Yeah. And, then I use it for like 3 weeks and then forget it's there for a year and a half or whatever, until I happened to just look at it the other day and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I made this.
Yeah.
I mean, literally that happened.
No, right. I mean, yes. Oh, okay.
See,
so
Stevens, the work vibe. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not that organized. I wish I was, because you have to be the organization. I need to be more organized. I mean, it's true. It's just fundamentally true. I need to be more organized. But the thing for me is that I don't schedule the time to do the organizing. And I think that's like really key. You have to schedule the time, just for me, my opinion. Anyway, other time management skills that don't result in me hating myself, please throw them out there. I know that our chat is still working because Mr. Steven said something. And Existential Bob would still love to hear from anybody if you do have anything you want to share to make his day a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, I think we're doing pretty good here, Nathan. We've kind of covered all the things that we planned in terms of activities for our play date. Oh my good. Oh, what do you have? Let me see.
Pepper has a book that I wanted. I mentioned earlier, everybody, we talked about how resolutions can feel like a curse sometimes. And I said I had something that you could look at as a way to maybe help how you think about them. This is a book called The Four Agreements. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. There are 4 agreements that he goes through in the book. And by agreements, what he means is that these are things that we in our lives need to be doing. We've grown up and the world has kind of forced all these ideas onto us that we've kind of just agreed to as we've gone along. So, we do things because we've been taught to do them, or we do things because culture expects us to do them without really thinking about it. So he offers 4 agreements that we need to kind of remake with ourselves in order to live a better life. And the last one, the 4th of them, which helps hold up the other 3, and I won't tell you then, but this one is always do your best. And this is really relevant to the resolution thing. It's like we were talking about earlier, that perfectionism is rampant, and it can really pull you down if your resolutions are so concrete that when you break them, you also feel broken. Let me read you a little bit from this book. Everything is alive and changing all the time. So your best will sometimes be high quality, and other times it will not be as good. Regardless of the quality, keep doing your best. No more and no less than your best. When you overdo, you deplete your body and go against yourself, and it will take you longer to accomplish your goal. But if you do less than your best, you subject yourself to frustrations, self-judgment, guilt, and regrets. Just do your best. In any circumstance in your life, it doesn't matter if you are sick or tired. If you always do your best, there is no way you can judge yourself. And if you don't judge yourself, there is no way you are going to suffer from guilt, blame, and self-punishment. By always doing your best, you will break a big spell that you have been under.
Oh, I loved that. I needed to hear that today. Anybody else need to hear that today? Oh, and it's funny because mom says that. My mom says that. Just do your best. That's my mom always says that to me. She always
Moms know. Yeah.
They always know. No, and you're inspiring me to read this book, and thank you so much for reading that so beautifully. I feel touched that you would share that because I'm now extremely vibing on this energy of the book, and I have to go pick it up. And you mentioned that you wanted to unpack that as the one of your kind of uplift parts of the show. I got really excited to hear about it, and now I'm so excited to pick up the book. But yeah. For my little, I think they used to what did they used to call it on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart? They would call it your moment of zen.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself. Remembers the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. So that was your moment of zen that you shared with us. I love that so much, and I brought a little funny with me because there's been this. I don't know if others have observed this resurgence of the Mary Oliver poem, this whole kind of tidal wave of love for the Mary Oliver poem Wild Geese that's been going on social media. And of course, you can't not love the poem. I mean, it's timeless. But I thought I would read a little bit of that because to me, it's having its moment, which I always love when a woman poet has a poem that goes down in history, and then it also has kind of these moments in the sun because people bring it back into the social media and pop culture discourse. But her poem Wild Geese, people are memeing about all I need in my life is just to listen to Mary Oliver reading Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things.
I love that.
Wild geese. Wild geese with existential Bob. I think the people got what they were looking for tonight on the Playdate. Who knew? It was a mishmash of all of our favorite things. We wanted to give people a peaceful way to end the week. We wanted to give them a playful moment with us and also the chance to talk a little bit about anything that's on your mind. It was a shy crowd, but we hope you'll come back again next time. And maybe we will avoid something that's not so harsh. Right, Lemon? Oh, maybe we'll do a bright and shiny topic. We'll do something like, I don't know. We'll have to ask Bob. We'll do a poll. Nathan,
Oh yeah, polls.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, listen up. Like we're gonna try and make this a regular thing. We're gonna do it again. So like other stuff that might be interesting to unpack, might be interesting to talk about, play around with. Let us know.
Let us know, please do. And I think the last thing I'll say is please remember to, if you haven't done this already, go on over to Nathan Hill's page on LinkedIn and follow him, subscribe, just get engaged with him as much as possible because frankly, he's just everybody's best friend, the person you'd want to have a play date with almost every day. So he's backed by popular demand on this play date series from the Afternoon Snack Studios. Thank you so much for being here, Nathan. I love hanging out with you.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun. I love it. Yeah.
We always have the best time together. Check him out. He's Nathan Hill, and he'll be back next month for another play date. Bye.